truth, logic, and argument with which to prove heretics wrong. So we developed a culture of thinking based on truth, logic, and argument, a culture of thinking to find the truth. Now that has been very useful to us in science, and we have made great progress, but we have never culturally developed thinking for creating value. To be sure, individuals, entrepreneurs, innovators, inventors have done it, but culturally it's never been done. And that is a huge deficiency, And so what happens on the political level is people are used to analysis and judgment. So most of our thinking is rather like the analogy of a doctor in a clinic, and the patient comes in, and the doctor examines the patient, takes the history, does some test. What is the doctor trying to do? The doctor is trying to identify a standard situation in order to provide a standard answer. And that is 95% of our thinking and 100% of our education. Standard situations, standard answers. And it's very good, but it's not good enough. So we need thinking to create value. Now, where is that going to come from? Well, on the creative level, once we understand the brain as a pattern system, pattern-making system, then there is a logic of patterning systems. And on that we can build the tools of lateral thinking. They can be very powerful. One afternoon, a workshop working for a steel company, using just one of the tools of lateral thinking, developed 21,000 new ideas in one afternoon. Creativity can be a very deliberate, very formal process. Then there are other processes, like the 6 hats. That is now beginning to be used in juries in court in the United States. The first change in the jury system for more than 1,000 years. So we're looking at changes in thinking. Now, many years ago, at the United Nations, I tried to set up a group to provide additional ideas beyond the usual ideas. And Kofi Annan, who was Secretary General, was at some of my meetings. The result was very disappointing, because they said, we are not here to think, we're here to represent our countries, not to think. So they are not going to do it. So one of the big projects I have is somewhere in the world, and Holland may be a good country, I want to set up a palace of thinking. Now the palace of thinking would have 2 functions. The first function is to receive ideas from everywhere and to publish and promote the best ones. And the second one is to organize specific creative meetings on world issues like drugs, immigration, and so on, and develop new ideas. So to be the one source of the world for new ideas, new possibilities. And what is needed for it is some iconic building, some really excellent building which looks good in photographs or television, to give a sense of importance to thinking that thinking deserves. So thinking is an important human function. In addition to that, there are other things that can be done. For instance, I believe that every government should have a Minister of Thinking. Minister of Thinking would look after thinking, help different departments, assess different thinking, provide new ideas. And then schools can teach thinking as a separate subject. Research in the United Kingdom shows that teaching by thinking as a separate subject in school improves performance in every subject by between 30 and 100%. Every subject, maths, science, geography, history. Teaching thinking as a separate subject improves performance. Teaching thinking to very violent youngsters who are too violent to go to ordinary schools, go to special schools. Teaching thinking in a 20-year follow-up, they showed they'd reduced the rate of criminal conviction to 1/10 of what it had been. Teaching thinking to unemployed youngsters for just 5 hours increased the employment rate 500%. Just teaching thinking for 5 hours. So thinking is very powerful, very important. It's something that we have almost completely neglected for 2,400 years. And as I say, there's a lot that we can do about it. And it's not a mystery. In China, the big university in Beijing has been in research on my work in schools for 9 years. They like the results very much, and they're talking about introducing it into 680,000 schools in China. There's a big project in India as well. So if China and India start thinking, that's half the world population, so that's a big start. So thinking is important. Traditional philosophy, analysis, and so on is not enough. We need what I call operational thinking. Operational thinking is thinking to make things happen. And that, of course, includes design. Design is putting together what you have to deliver the values you want. It's a very broad term, not just restricted to aesthetic design and so on. So, thinking is important. Poor thinking, or limited thinking, is the world's biggest problem, and if we improve that, that will help us deal with the other problems as well. So that's the message I want to make for Improvement Day. At Improvement Day, we can improve what we're doing about thinking, and if, for example, we set up the Palace of Thinking here in Holland, then Holland would have a unique role in the world, the place from which new ideas come to help other people solve their problems. For example, if we look at the Gaza and Israel problem, the response is they're firing rockets at us with bombing. Okay, that's a traditional response. A design response would be that all the countries which set up Israel should jointly give the Palestinians a grant of $3 billion a year, but every time they fire a rocket at Israel, they lose 50 million. Now, behavior changes very much. In other words, design is a key part of thinking. Analysis and judgment are not enough. Thank you very much.